All right, guys. Well, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to talk to you about how we can help achieve retail utopia. Just a few quick housekeeping items before we get started. Lindsay, if you don't mind just going to the next slide. As you should have seen, this session is going to be recorded. We've also gone ahead and muted everybody that is not presenting. So if you could please just submit any questions that you have for the Q&A portion of our session via the question tab at the bottom of your screen. That would be great. Today, we'll spend a few minutes talking through Salesforce's point of view on retail. Tarek will give an overview of the current state of retail. Raz will then talk us through the ideal state of retail. And then we're excited to share the success that we've had with the Very Group. So Mark Billingham will be sharing that. Che will wrap up with how PolSource can help. And then we have 15 minutes reserved at the end for Q&A. I'll give some brief intros for all of our speakers. So Mark Billingham, he is an MBA qualified operational change strategy and CX leader, currently responsible for everything customer operations, customer experience, and digital customer transformation at the UK and Ireland's leading integrated retail and financial services business, the Very Group. We have Nav. She is a senior regional vice president and head of retail in the UK. She has worked in business and technology for over 20 years and been with Salesforce for over 18 months. She's working with our customers to ensure that their success is paramount to her, and Salesforce and her teams are absolutely focused upon this. We have Tarek Nasir. He leads EPAM's digital engagement practice in Europe, overseeing over 200 consultants, designers, and engineers. He has spent the last 20 years leading innovation and transformation programs for some of the world's biggest and most exciting companies, including ShopDirect, LV, Adam Bank, ASOS, and BUPA, as well as co-founding Pottermore with J.K. Rowling. Tarek is most recently also president at BIMA, the UK's trade body for digital, and a regular commentator for innovation and technology within the national media. We have Che Lung. Che is leading the Service Cloud practice here in EMEA. He has been in the Salesforce business for over 13 years, based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and working for EPAM PolSource for the last 3 years. Raz Embleton is our EMEA marketing practice director. He has 15 years of CRM and marketing automation experience. He's worked with some of the world's largest brands across retail, financial services, high tech, and pharma. He's been with EPAM PolSource for 3 years and is based in the UK. And then I'm Lauren Noonan. I will be moderating today's webinar. I lead our global marketing cloud practice. I've been here with EPAM PolSource for the last 3 years and in the marketing ecosystem for over 11 years in various roles as an end user, marketing strategist, and managing marketing operations teams. I am based in Boston, Massachusetts. And I will now pass this to Tarek to give a to Nav, to give an overview of Salesforce for retail.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lauren. I'm sure Tarek could do a great job of this as well. It's always really strange doing these virtual events. I feel as if I'm just talking to myself because I can't see anyone. So yeah, let's bear with me. So first of all, I'd like to thank the PolSource team for inviting me to give my perspective on retail. And secondly, I'd really like to thank Mark Billingham from the Very Group and the Very Group. I'm so proud that you chose to partner with ourselves and PolSource to move forward with your transformation. And very much it is so exciting to see how Salesforce is helping you transform your business and to be relevant today and in the future. I think when we started these discussions, I don't think anybody would have imagined that, you know, we would be in a pandemic and COVID has impacted us as much as it has. So as I reflect on what's happened in retail over the last 5 years, Retailers were already facing challenges, needing to move to a more digital world and thinking about how to converge in store and online. And it was always felt as if it was something that retailers wanted to do, but another priority always came up. There was something always more important that happened. And then the pandemic hit, which meant retailers had to decide, do we stand still and hedge, which absolutely some retailers did do that, or be bold and invest for the present and the bounce back and be prepared. So the pandemic really opened up opportunities to accelerate digital. And I think the retailers who have survived and thrived have grasped the challenge and opportunity and made changes to their business to be able to better serve their customers and give them a great experience. Retailers who haven't changed and have stood still have absolutely suffered. We know of all the household names that went into administration last year, and it's been massively sad to see. So the likes of Debenhams and Arcadia are a couple of the bigger ones on the high street that we all know and love. So as we think about the point of view around omnichannel, we can break it into two categories. Firstly, think about the digital first consumer. 84% of consumers say they like being treated as a person and not a number. On the other hand, 34% of organizations say they treat customers as unique individuals. There's an obvious gap here which needs to be addressed and can benefit retailers and consumers. This is a massive opportunity to differentiate the best retailers, and those are the retailers that will come out on top. The question is, how do you make the most of each and every one of these moments with your customers? And let's be honest, it's not easy. Retailers have legacy systems, siloed data, they've got experienced resources, skilled in those legacy tools. So what do you do with those people and those teams? And on top of that, a constantly rapidly changing market and customers who expect a great service or experience as standard. So Lauren, if you move to the next slide for me, please. So if you think about Salesforce, we're a digital first platform, purpose-built. We believe that everything should be centered around your customers. That way, your marketing, commerce, sales, service, customer applications, analytics, everything you do is centered around their needs. With a real-time view of your business, you can acquire and engage loyal customers and transform how you work with partners and colleagues within the store. And we build that on an elastic infrastructure that can scale to deliver all the right insights at the right time to both colleagues and customers to maximize that customer lifetime value. We're helping and supporting our retailers to be nimble and to be agile, to evolve and meet those ever-changing customer demands. Because what customers want today and expect today, we know will not be the same in a few months' time. In the new reality we find ourselves in, we are working with retailers to digitally transform and deliver for customers in today's world. This has created closer relationships and helped to make every moment count, as this is going to be the true differentiator. Once you're in our customer's mind, that isn't enough. You have to provide that seamless experience, no matter the channel. That means turning marketing engagements into buying and service experiences. So shoppers might start online, but would also shift to physical and possibly reach out to customer service. Boundaries are being removed from different functions in the eyes of shoppers, and retailers must offer a seamless experience across the ever-changing consumer channels. We all understand that. We are consumers ourselves, and we absolutely shop every day. So we know what customers expect. So that's a brief perspective on Salesforce and retail. Let me now hand over to Mark.
Or me, I think.
Oh, sorry, Tarek.
Don't worry, that's fine. Hi, everybody. So I've got a few slides. I'm going to try and be really quick, a fair bit of content. I was asked to put together some thoughts around the current state of retail. And if you wouldn't mind progressing to the next slide, the first obvious point is retail pre, during, and post-pandemic. And I think it would be fair to say that pre-pandemic, of course, we had sort of traditional bricks and mortar and e-commerce propositions. there were some real shining lights in omnichannel, but it was clear even pre-pandemic that there was so much more to do in our definition of omnichannel as it was at the time. And then through the COVID response, clearly retail now is in many cases very much driven by online workarounds, in exactly the same way, they've just been stated in terms of the way different retailers have responded to the pandemic. And so then sort of you ask yourself the question, as we emerge from this pandemic, as we move through our COVID response, what do we think we're going to see on the other side? And our view is we're going to see this kind of really quite sophisticated approach to digital physical hybrids. And some of these concepts are critical to bricks and mortar or omnichannel businesses, but they are also true of pure play businesses as well. We think that now is a time, exactly in the way that had just been described, where hybridity and flexibility is going to really characterize exactly how kind of retailers are moving through this space. And on the next chart, this is a kind of a notion we've been talking about for a while. We call it blend space. And blend space is really kind of key in retail. It's a way of really kind of thinking about not just how you marry physical and digital, but actually how you tap into the psychology of the modern consumer, which is kind of combining the mode, the kind of the why we shop with the channel, the where we shop, and the journey through those channels. It's a build, I guess, on much of the omnichannel practice that's been described, but the genuine blending of all of this is super interesting as we kind of emerge from the pandemic. And as we think about what's changing, partly driven by the pandemic, but partly driven by other trends, if we wouldn't mind progressing, we see a bunch of things changing. And we've sort of separated these things into sort of four main buckets: goods, demand, format, and labor, with goods fundamentally driving kind of customer engagement and labor being very fundamentally focused on operational efficiency. But there's something interesting to say here, and a whole bunch of trends that are impacting retail in all of these areas. So I'm going to quickly touch on them, starting with labor. So if you wouldn't mind progressing, please. So with labor, it's really interesting when we're talking to our retail customers now, especially as we start to open up, so much pressure on finding now a new labor force. And it's kind of driven by a bunch of trends that we see happening anyway, both during and beyond the pandemic. This move towards radical self-service. Amazon is no longer the only player in the market introducing and investing in substantially and sophisticated self-service capability. Of course, the supply chain is increasingly automated, but there is a key point to note here is that even as formats get smaller and distribution strategies evolve, we're seeing supply chain evolve in all manner of ways, not just in these kind of super sophisticated distribution centers. And as we're bringing on new staff and we're starting to think about how we engage them and have them deliver against a new format, how we onboard them, and also how we kind of focus on supporting remote working and an entirely different approach to fulfillment, the impact of all of these trends on labor is significant and should be featured in a forward-facing commerce strategy. Then we look at format, so the kind of the where, and there's some really interesting trends to watch out for here. The first is that the channel rebalance is super interesting. I mean, we're working with retailers now who have stated, bricks and mortar retailers have stated they'll never go into e-commerce, and we're building super sophisticated click and collect driven commerce strategies for them because it's specific to their product areas. Virtual commerce has been around for a while, but recent forays into this space with the continued industrialization of AR and VR and technologies and an ability to personalize in the way that we can with Salesforce. These are all fundamental points to really understanding what a more virtual commerce experience is. Our team in Boston are actually working in a couple of really interesting edge retail concepts as we describe them. And this is effectively thinking about how you bring bricks and mortar closer to the customer. So yes, very new progressive vending machine formats, sometimes also hybrid fulfillment models for click and collect, kind of lockers, if you like. But lots of focus and discussion with key retailers now thinking about how they take their brand and their retail proposition physically, but closer to the customer. And we call that edge retail. And, social commerce as a final point, it's been around for a while, but as we see how retailers are currently engaging in social for social commerce, these strategies are far more disruptive or far more kind of, there's so much more volume going through these social commerce strategies than they were pre-pandemic. We think all of these things are here to stay. And then on the next slide, we talk about demand. And the demand, if you like, is the when. And the things to really think about is that the way that we're living clearly has evolved through the pandemic, but clearly it will evolve in a more hybrid way as we emerge from the pandemic. Nothing new here, but the way that the destinations that people are engaging with, there's fewer people traveling for business, as you know, there's more people traveling for pleasure. Our events have become asynchronous. Mass events are obviously returning, but the way in which we experience these events is going to change. The kind of that instant gratification of delivery and in-person shopping with courier services is something to really watch out for. We're seeing some real innovation from courier companies understanding how they can create greater differentiation at the point of delivery on behalf of their retailers. And finally, as we're seeing with a number of our retail customers, the way that these strategies are evolving at a hyper-local level, sort of within cities and regions, not just within nations, is super interesting. And that's partially driven to the nuances of how those cities and regions are coming out of the pandemic. But it's very, very key now that you have to kind of take a really focused view, and it's not as simple as just taking a market by market view. And then finally on goods, the what. We've seen some really interesting trends in terms of just demand for various goods. So clearly the rise of at-home everything, sort of everything from, crazy explosion in pizza oven sales, right through to the usuals that you would expect from home automation and home improvements and beyond. But we are also seeing now people taking a more long-term view about what the kind of the post-pandemic world means for their home, and really investing in items that support that kind of hybrid way of working, not just as a knee-jerk sort of reaction to the pandemic, but now with a more long-term view. And then a big focus on corporate social responsibility, lots of focus, continued focus on making sure that what we buy has been sustainably sourced and is reflective of a business that takes its overall social standing really, really responsibly. And then finally, I just sort of say, so what comes next with all of this? The fundamentals are still the same. Personal experiences, but this time more remote. More compelling reasons for people to come into a physical estate. And this has been a dialogue for a while, but really understanding how in the post-pandemic world, the physical estate bears its relevance. And genuinely thinking about how we go through the line. We have lots of interesting kind of concepts and strategic projects we're running at the moment in this space, where the notion of a profile and actually genuinely understanding the customer and building that kind of stored value in that engagement is being taken to an entirely kind of new level. So just two quick final slides before I hand over to Raz. It's still, the fundamentals are still there. We want to be front of mind in our customers' mind. We need to think about how we balance the functional with the emotional, how we recognize that there are certain interactions that carry a low time investment and a high time investment, how we support this kind of blended approach to meeting customer needs across all of these different spaces. And on the next slide, finally, the fundamentals of moving from awareness to discovery to purchase fulfillment, they're still there. The fundamentals of e-commerce are still there, but the attributes of this and the kind of the key considerations have evolved dramatically. I hope I've done a half decent job at kind of raising some of those things that we think have evolved in retail. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Raz, who's going to talk about the ideal state.
Super. Thank you, Tarek. Appreciate that. So I wanted to sort of introduce and swap focus slightly here onto the ideal state of retail and what is the technology foundation really that enables you to deliver that customer experience in that blend space. So in our point of view, you can really distill this down into these four core focus areas. So initially, we've got omni-channel cross-org engagement. Now, what do we mean by that? We mean basically the breakdown of silos across your technology and systems, enabling you to deliver the best customer experience across any touch points that your customers are coming in and coordinate that customer experience across all your systems and processes effectively. We've then got the underpinning customer 360, that unified view of the customer and that data accessibility, which really underpins all that harmonization of your customer experience and enables that data to be accessible in real time or near real time across all your technology and processes. Absolutely fundamental cornerstone of your customer experience strategy. And then looking at the streamlined multi-channel marketing and service as well. So, gone are the days with sort of batch and blast email communications and marketing strategies. We're talking about, real-time, one-to-one personalization across cross-channel. Really driving that engagement cross-channel with your consumers right the way through their customer lifecycle as well, and across service as well. Looking at service agents being able to respond and deliver that customer experience across all channels as well, because we know that's the behaviour of your consumers today. They're digital first basically, and coming in all channels. And then lastly, there's the business and technology agility. And this, is paramount, and we've seen this, is actually providing that process and business, technology layer within your business to enable it to flex with the constantly changing environment at pace and keep up with consumer behavior, keep up with technology, etc. So actually having that base technology layer and business processes in place to allow that agility to flex at pace. So if we just go forward another slide. So we wanted to bring this to life a little bit with an example journey. So this is an example, really. It's by no means complete, but really highlights some of these elements working together. So this is an example journey of Dennis. He's in the market for some new fishing tackle. Basically, he goes to Lake District every year with his friends and tries his hands at fly fishing. So in this example, this fictitious example, Dennis is browsing online and arrives at your main e-commerce site. He's looking at the products. He's looking at a new rod, let's say, maybe a new reel to go with his rod, etc. But as we know, he gets distracted basically, and it's an abandoned basket. So then the marketing can start retargeting Dennis and actually start, kind of nudging him basically through retargeting to come back and continue his journey. So Dennis actually responds to one of these, comes back onto the site. At that point, he's known again. He gets some product recommendations, which is kind of real-time sort of personalization. He's still feeling a bit overwhelmed. So in this example, actually, a sales assistant actually helps him in the chatbot on the site, helps him actually define what's the products he wants to go. So he goes ahead with the purchase and actually opts for a click and collect. So the purchase is through, and he opts for the click and collect in store. Now, in between actually that order fulfillment, basically, marketing also steps in and starts communicating with Dennis around a increased cart value offer, hopefully to drive up that cart value and maybe cross-sell as well at that point. So Dennis then gets a text message or some other communications, multi-channel maybe, just highlighting that his order is ready for pickup. So he goes into the store and actually picks up. So you can see just on that top line, you can see we've got e-commerce, commerce, marketing, and service working all together throughout that customer life cycle, and really sort of helping Dennis move through that stage, those life cycle stages, and he feels known at each point, basically. So in this example, maybe there's a problem. Maybe the reel doesn't fit on the rod. So actually, Dennis comes back online, looks at the customer services, and is picked up by a service bot. The service bot actually starts with this case deflection. Can't actually fulfill it completely, so actually directs Dennis to go onto a smart voice recognition system as well. Dennis calls this, is able to actually amend and exchange his reel, and that is actually then fulfilled basically, or actually coordinated with the commerce engine again, and he's happy that he can exchange that. So again, he goes through, he gets communication that his exchange is ready for pickup, goes into store, picks up, and is happy. So after a period of time, we also go back to Dennis and go for a survey to understand his sentiment. Basically, he's very positive. He's had a great experience throughout. He felt known. He felt there was relevant messages at the right time, and in general, the customer experience was great. So Dennis is an advocate, and he will go across social posts. He will share it with his friends. It's a good experience. Okay, so how do we bring that all together? So this is what we call the CrossCloud Overlap, and it really highlights how marketing on the left-hand side there, with commerce on the right-hand side, and service can all work together really across each of these activities and coordinate and harmonize that customer experience. And this is also enabling the worker experience actually internally within your organizations to actually deliver that customer experience, because they have got access to the right data at the right time at the right place. So you can see at the center of this diagram, we've got the customer master, that unified 360 view of the customer, absolutely fundamental for the coordination around each of these activities as well. That cornerstone is also managing the offer management, content management, loyalty management, etc., all around that customer 360 and unified customer view. And you can see on the marketing side, we have the traditional acquisition, segmentation, audience management, journey management, all cross-channel, of course, product ideation as well for next best product suggestions, etc., and things like proximity marketing. Now you can see in between marketing and the commerce cloud, you've got things like personalization being driven for product recommendations, campaign optimization, catalog management, etc. And that is really the cross between marketing and commerce. And then as we go on the right-hand side, you can see we've got point of sale, mobile point of sale, self-checkout, digital commerce, etc. And down the bottom here, we've got the service channels, which is the omni-channel service, the case management, knowledge management, etc. And you can see how each of these activities are not siloed. They are coordinated because of this cross-cloud and cornerstone of that unified customer view of the 360 view. So just go forward another slide, please. So how does this work in channels? So you can see here, we've got the three colors, which is the blue, yellow, and purple, and they pertain to the blue being marketing activity, the yellow being supported by the commerce cloud activity, and the purple around service activity here as well. So you can see the marketing really spans across all the channels and is completely omni-channel and real-time. On the customer self-serve, we've got in-store, web, and mobile, covering point of sale, digital commerce, product recommendations, loyalty management, for example. And then going across voice and the outbound channels and inbound channels as well, we've got order management, delivery tracking, returns and payments, and across that as well, we've got that knowledge management on the service level as well. So on the sales assistants and service agents, we've got case management, again, going across that channel, enabling the customer to flex and feel the freedom really to contact you across each of the channels as they want. You've got that knowledge management as well, and the order management for fulfillment, returns, etc., all sort of being coordinated. And the base layer here, we've got the operations, again, that customer master, enabling that activity down there with content management, data analytics, business analytics, etc., all the way through to supply chain management as well. So if we just go forward, this is looking at it from the solutions you need across each of these channels to enable that, as I say, worker experience enablement for the customer experience in this blend space. So again, you can see here that Salesforce actually covers each of these areas, and these solutions need to work together and work together well to enable that really sort of harmonization of the customer experience across each of these elements. You can see at the top here that we've got the marketing across the top there, again, the blue. We've got the commerce and loyalty program clouds, basically across in-store, web and mobile. And then the real bulk of this is around the service cloud as well. So you've got clienteling in store, you've got voice, smart voice, bots, chatbots, and then the agent and service agent elements here around case management, voice chat, social service, knowledge retention, field service, etc. And again, really being underpinned by that customer 360 view at the operational level that drives collaboration, harmonization, and great customer experience across each of these as well. So at this point, I'm going to hand across to Mark, which we're delighted to have here today. He's going to talk a little bit more about success with the Very Group.
Thanks, Raz. Appreciate that, and yeah, some really useful insight there, and a lot of it fits with what's happened here at the Very Group over the last, well, 100 years if you look at us in total. So for those who don't know, the Very Group is an online retail organisation. It's the second biggest online retailer in the UK behind Amazon, and it's also a huge financial services business because 98% of our customers buy on credit from us. Now, our history is stemmed from mail order. So really, we started as a catalogue organisation, two companies, Littlewoods and Gus, or Great Universal, here in the UK, which merged into kind of one Goliath mail order. But we also had retail stores, and we were hugely backed by telephone orders as well. So quite a mixed delivery setup for us. Now, we took the bold decision 15 years ago now to shut all of our stores. I don't know what sort of premonition our owners had at the time, but they saw the kind of demise of the high street and they decided to focus more on mail order and online. And since then, we've also taken the decision to remove mail order. So we're a purely 100% e-commerce business now, which is, I guess, fairly unique for a company that's 100 years old. We're not a startup, we're a 100-year-old company that's evolved over time to become a purely e-commerce business, a pure play online retailer. So 100% of everything that's bought from us is online. And I guess that brings with it a whole legacy of history. I think we've had something along the region of 20 different brands through that period of time. And we now have condensed that into two core brands, very.co.uk, which is our biggest brand, and also Littlewoods. And I guess just for information, we're a department store. So we sell everything from electricals to clothing to you name it, seasonal goods that are out there, which has been fantastic during the pandemic because obviously as areas like clothing has dropped, areas like homeware and electricals have grown. So it's allowed us to be resilient through that pandemic period, but it's also needed us to be hugely flexible. And I guess with all that history behind us and with all that legacy of systems, legacy of brands, we have quite a complicated infrastructure across our marketing platforms, across our customer care platforms, and across our e-commerce platforms. So what feels like a lifetime ago, but actually only 6 months ago, we started a program with both Salesforce and PolSource to look at how do we consolidate our legacy systems and all of our different facets of systems into one streamlined system. And we're on a journey to do that. So we're actually 5 releases into delivering what will be a single system, a single view of the customer for our business and for our, more importantly, for our customers. You know, we are a department store, we sell lots of different products. On average, most of our customers order 10, 11 times a year from us. So it's not a one and done transaction. And therefore, customer relationship management is absolutely critical to the business. And actually, we've been doing a fairly good job of stitching together bits of data to get there. But we haven't supercharged what I think we can do moving forward by pulling all that information into a great system, by understanding our customers and their patterns much better, and giving our customer care colleagues real great data to have great conversations with our people and understand what they want, what they like, and what channels they like to use as well. Now, our strategy in customer care and across CX in the Very Group is obviously digitally led. 100% of our customers buy online from us. So therefore, realistically, we want 100% of customers to interact with us digitally when it comes to every asset of their life with the Very Group. We weren't set up for that. In fact, 85% of our traffic came in through phone calls, and a very small amount through offline channels, letters, emails, etc. So we've been on a mission to change that, and I'll talk to you about kind of some of the stats behind that in a second. But effectively, our strategy is really simple now. We have a fantastic chatbot at the front and center. That is effectively our front door for our customers. It isn't there to block traffic. It isn't there to stop you speaking to a great person if you need to. And it certainly isn't there to kind of put barriers in the way of people. But it's there to understand how we can help and get you to the right channel straight away. So the way that our chatbot works is it effectively will ask you what you would like from us. If it's something that we think is better speaking to a person, then we pass you to a person. If it's something that we can do self-service and we have great self-service behind them, we'll pass you to that great self-service. So it's a concierge bot, but it drives down the right channel for the customer. And I'll show you some of the stats that come off the back of that. Now, with that in mind, having a great front door is great, but if you haven't got great back-end systems that allow you to manage the customer after that, then you're onto a losing battle. So our huge development that's happening with PolSource and Salesforce at the moment, which I've got to say has been a fantastic partnership between the three. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on this conference. It's been a hugely successful partnership so far with 5 really successful releases. Is all about creating that one view of the customer. And that started, as you'd imagine, in a digital company with our social and our web chat channels, replacing our legacy systems to do with that, and giving us some confidence in the Salesforce platform first and how that relationship with PolSource works. And that was hugely successful. We dropped that, we replaced all of our social media channels with the bot. We then moved on to our customer surveys. The lifeblood of how we train, how we understand how our advisors are doing is through the surveys we get from our customers. We integrated all of that. So you've got social, you've got web chat, and you've got all the customer surveys in one place already, which is fantastic and allows us to remove some cost out of the business in terms of legacy systems, but more importantly, starts to get channels set up within the Salesforce system and deliver them. We've recently, in fact, we've just this week delivered 2 key elements of our business on Salesforce. The first is our advisor feedback tool, which is effectively our continuous improvement tool, and more importantly, our knowledge management system. So removing our old knowledge management systems and all knowledge in one place for all 2,000 of our people, integrated into Salesforce, integrated into the customer account with everything in one place. Now, what this starts to do is get our advisors using the tools before we then go into the meat and drink of replacing all of our legacy CRM systems. So over the summer, we'll start to replace all of our legacy CRM systems, one of which is nearly 38 years old. So lots of unpicking to do, but the confidence that we've built through this program in both PolSource and Salesforce is allowing us to have great confidence that we'll continue that great process of releases through the summer. Through the summer and beyond, we'll then replace all of our core systems. So 8 legacy systems into one view of the customer. What that allows us to do is really start to understand our customers in a way that we've never had before. What channels do they like to use? How often do they contact us? What are they contacting us about? More importantly, from a commercial and a sales perspective, what products are they buying? Where should we be cross-selling to them? Where should we be using that data moving forward? Secondly, it brings in huge tools that Raz talked about that we've never had, great tools as a business before, like case management. Some of our processes are hugely complicated. Some of them, around returns and faulty goods require us to speak to third-party suppliers and get things fixed for customers. That case management functionality will step change our customer experience and allow us to put proactive case management into our business, which we've never had before, keeping customers up to date, building in channels moving forward, like messaging, where they're more, they're better used in those one-on-one complex situations, and allows us to open up to new techniques. Integrating Salesforce with web chat and our chatbot gives us one end-to-end ecosystem and one view of the customer, and I can't wait to see that. The way we've built that interface and the way we've built that chatbot as well opens that up to new tools and new ways of using technology in the way Tarek used. Your Amazon Alexas, your voice assistants can be easily integrated into that chatbot functionality. So we start to future-proof ourselves for the future. Although I don't see us putting meat in vending machines, that seems quite far-fetched. But outside of that, it opens us up to be able to open new channels right across the piece. So this whole program in entirety is going to take 18 months to replace nearly 100 years of history, which I don't think is a bad set of numbers. And as you can see, we're chunking it up into small releases. I've done a number of CRM replacements in my time, and both of the big ones that I've done have been big bang. It causes a number of issues. it gets everybody across onto that new system straight away, but you end up cleaning up after a period of time and fixing things that are broken. The way we're doing this is a completely different way, agile, flexible, in unique chunks, and that seems to be working brilliantly at the minute. And again, we'll continue that over the next 12 months until we've finished, replacing all of our core systems here at the Very Group. So, huge step forward, 5 releases done in 6 months. The pace at which we can move and the guidance that PolSource and Salesforce have given through this process has been fantastic. So we're getting to a good place, and we're starting to see the results of that already. For instance, our social media team previously, we're getting an NPS of around +40. Since we've put this tool in with that better view of the customer and the better technology that allows you to take customers straight from social media and into the Salesforce platform and deal with them, we're at +70. We're also, from an efficiency perspective, answering 19 queries an hour compared to 10 queries an hour that we were answering before. So there's a huge cost benefit that starts to help us with the significant benefits case that sits behind us, of doing this exercise within the Very Group. So that's our CRM transformation. We're halfway through it. I'm more than happy to answer any questions on how it's gone so far, and happy to keep updated as we go through this program. But a hugely successful and really exciting for us at the Very Group in step changing our customer experience, moving forward and getting that single view of the customer. Now, we talked about our chatbot. Pivotal to the success of this is filtering our customers into the right channel first time. We've built our own chatbot. You can do it in many different ways, using Salesforce, who have their own chatbot solution, which is great, and there are other providers out there. However, we've built this ourselves and are integrating it into the sales platform. We are a digital business, so a bit of an advantage in that we've got the developers to do that. Our chatbot is now our largest customer service channel, answering 268,000 queries a month, as you can see on this graphic here. But more importantly than that, it's reduced our contacts into our contact centers by 23% by providing great self-service to our customers, nearly 50% over the last 2 years. But more importantly, 75% of customers who use it don't need to contact the contact center afterwards, which is phenomenal and it's still growing. A chatbot, as many of you will know, starts out as a child and builds its way into being a fully grown adult. Ours is probably an adolescent at the minute, quite a well-behaved adolescent, hopefully, but it is an adolescent at the minute. And that chatbot is allowing us to understand what our customers want, filter them into the same channel, and linking into Salesforce will be hugely powerful for us. As I say, 75% of customers who use it don't need to go on to use the contact center. And that's really about understanding your customers, understanding every reason they contact you, and building a great natural language chatbot that helps customers through that journey. The key is making it simple for people. And we only use one metric in our chatbot, which was how easy was it for you to get to the answer you needed today. And our customers thankfully score us 4 out of 5. There's still improvements we can make on that, but make it easy, make it a simple front door, link it to your CRM system, and you start to be able to step change your customer experience dramatically. That's it for me. Happy to take any questions at the end, but I'll now hand over to Lauren and talk about how PolSource can help.
Yeah, exactly to me, Mark. Thanks.
Oh, sorry, Che. We're not doing on handovers here, are we?
It's okay. I would like to thank you, Mark, for sharing your story in this session. So really pleased to hear that you're a happy customer, and that PolSource is a great partner for you together with Salesforce. So once again, thank you for that. So I will wrap up. So how PolSource can help retail customers. So we have our own approach. It's actually a hybrid agile approach, which consists of elements of waterfall, but also a lot of elements in agile. Of course, it depends on the maturity of the customer in terms of agile, but quite often we are also using full agile in projects. We are calling that one agile. A good example is again the Very Group program. There we are executing full agile. So typically, if we start with a program, then first we have the discovery and roadmap phase. So really determining together with the customer, so what is the end state of the transformation? In order to get there, we are doing activities like assessments with the customer. So really assessing what is the as situation. So what things went well, what are the pain points? We are reviewing business processes. So also giving recommendations based on our best practices and experience on how to improve these processes. So all these use cases will be transformed into a backlog, which will be prioritized. and that will be the foundation of the roadmap. So after the discovery roadmap, so we'll start to implement our first use case. Typically, we use the crawl, walk, run approach. So really have first the foundation in place. So really start simple, like Mark is saying, really have the MVP in place, so a minimum viable product. I often call it as a MLP, a minimal lovable product. So really have a first solution that's lovable for the first users. And then after the MVP, so continuously improving the solution. So also by learning from experience from previous phases. And then, in the end, so really have approach to decommission all the legacy systems in the company, and retrain your personnel and your resources. On that note, so implementing a solution, that's one thing, but equally important is that in the end, stakeholders are really using the new technology. So change enablement is really a important aspect in implementation programs. So really, it's about changing the mindset of users, the new way of working. Really let them embrace the new technology. So it's far more than only training people. And of course, PolSource can help you with that because we have a lot of expertise in change enablement activities. If you can move to the next slide. So this slide is covering on high level what our capabilities are. As you can see, we have more than 1,200 certified professionals in Salesforce, over more than 2,500 certifications in Salesforce. And next to that, we also have a lot of industry knowledge and experience. As you can imagine, that's quite beneficial when implementing projects. So really give advice and guidance from an industry standpoint. We are not only doing implementations, but we're also offering advisory services. As I mentioned, also change enablement activities. But we're also supporting our customers with managed services. So really supporting their production environment once they're live with the solution. On the left-hand side, our specialties. First of all, we have a lot of experience in designing user experience. So the most optimal way, for example, how agents can work more efficiently. Automation, so really automate processes to be more efficient. REST already tackled omnichannel and cross-cloud implementation. We have experience in all Salesforce clouds, but like Raz is saying, we have especially that expertise really combining all these clouds together. So really breaking up that silo threshold. And last, we have a lot of technical integration experience. So really dealing with a lot of complex integrations, a lot of experience with things like middleware applications. So then also in a short note, how we can help you with Salesforce. So handing back over to Lauren.
Thanks, Che. So we did have a few questions come in. This first question I'll pass over to Raz. So just given the challenges that a lot of clients face with integrating all of their various platforms and customer touch points, how can Salesforce's CDP platform solve issues around these cross-cloud integrations?
Sure, thanks, Aaron. That's a good question. So Salesforce specifically have a solution called Customer 360 Audiences and Customer 360. And this is a very powerful solution that really handles ID resolution basically across all your Salesforce clouds and also from external data sources as well. And enables you to really integrate those data sources in and provide that ID resolution. We're talking sort of disparate data sets. We're talking cross-device ID resolution as well, and enable you to actually, compile that unified customer view and that full 360 throughout your systems as well. So it's often a misunderstood product basically, but it's really at that core of the cross-cloud functionality and also the integration of your third-party data sources as well.
Thanks, Raz. The next question I will pass to Tarek. So what should traditional brick and mortar stores be doing in a post-pandemic world? How do you need to reinvent yourself?
Oh, so it's a big question. It's a really big question, as you saw. I think as I teed it up, it's pretty multifaceted. What I would say is that the fundamentals around creating a reason to come into store as they existed pre-pandemic still exist post-pandemic, but with a different dynamic. An understanding of the customer experience that we think customers are really seeking in store is going to be really important. How much self-serve, how much click and collect, what's that right blend that I was describing earlier? And I'd love to kind of be able to give a kind of a generic holy grail answer to this, but we're working with a number of retailers on this topic at the moment. And like I said, whilst the kind of the characteristics of the discussion are similar and the drivers of the discussion are similar, the actual solution is very specific to their brand, to what they sell, to their actual footprint, to the current balance of sales, current attitudes and behaviors of customers. There's just so much to contemplate. We're working with, one retailer who is aggressively downsizing their estate and moving to more of a kind of a brand temple approach to making sure that they have an ability to build engagement, brand engagement, build the brand in the right way and in the right locations, but then focus predominantly on a commerce model. Others are doing exactly the opposite. So I'm afraid there isn't a straight up and clean answer, but the question is the right question. It's a question that most retailers are asking right now. And it really comes back down to fundamentally understanding that blend. But the one consistent piece in all of this, and I'm not just saying this because we're on a Salesforce panel, consistently, however you choose to create that blend, now above all times is the time where you genuinely need to create that kind of through the line personalization, the understanding of each unique customer, understanding how to serve them, not just by kind of to reduce friction, but to actually build intimate customer intimacy and engagement. These are all buzzwords that we've talked about for a while, but now more than ever, even when contemplating a pure kind of physical store question like that, personalization and how you kind of maintain that relevancy and stickiness with the customer is at the forefront. So I guess that would be my consistent answer. And then my more complex answer would be, it really depends on all of those other elements of the blend.
Thanks, Tarek. Fair enough. It was definitely quite a loaded question. Next question, I'll pass to Che. So what are the first steps to start the process of evolving your retail solution?
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Nice question. First step, personally, I will say just first call PolSource and EPAM. Just kidding. I think yeah, first thing you need to have is a vision. So like I mentioned in my part, so really you have the end state in mind, what you want to achieve with your transformation. So for example, if you have a customer service center now, and you want to transform this customer service center from a cost center to a profit center. So how to achieve that? So in order to achieve that, you need to have a roadmap. So really start with the fundamentals. So and then building further up until your end state. So yeah, I would say really have a vision in mind, and then really keeping that vision always in mind. If you're come across new requirements or new needs, always have that end goal in mind. And I think that will really be the first step.
Thanks, Che. Well, I know we're coming up on time, so we just wanted to thank you guys for coming and attending today. If you have any questions, you can contact us at hello@polsource.com. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.